is useful for you as well. So I wanna, as Cynthia said, my background originally was more directed to science, to engineering, and all these areas that many of you might be also connected to. But when I was still a student in my bachelor, I transitioned to social development because maybe as it happens in many places in the world and in your countries, I realized that it was not enough to only be a good professional. I also wanted to serve the development goals of my country. So I had the opportunity to apply my knowledge to social development and outreach. So I'm gonna talk about this experience a little bit, and hopefully we'll also connect with you and your experience as well in outreach projects. So just to get us started and connect a little bit and using the chat and see who's here and who might only not, be listening. In the dog scale, how do you feel today? Maybe it's already very late in the night. Where are you from? Or maybe you just finished your work day, or like me, if you are in the Americas, maybe you are starting the day very early. So share with the number of the dog that represents how do you feel today. I would say, okay, Cynthia, it's in 2. Thank you, Cynthia. It's like expectant maybe, or okay, thank you, Anna. You are like maybe looking forward, or tell us what you felt about the 1, and also you, Cynthia. I would say I am in 5 because I'm excited. I'm eager also to hear you and interact first by chat, and maybe hopefully we'll have time for questions and reflections at the end. Another 2, thank you. Oh no, it's also Cynthia. Thank you, Cynthia, again. Kirubel, thank you from Ethiopia. 6, nice. It's like a very sophisticated dog. Sleepy but positive. Okay, thank you, Anna. And Jenny is 9. It's yours already sleepy. Maybe it's late in the night or very early in the morning. 6, 2, 8, 9. Okay. Well, we have people who are a lot of you that are maybe preparing for sleep or maybe very tired from the day. I hope I can activate you with some of these ideas and that you find this very interesting as well. Thank you, Trust. Sleepy. Okay, let's hope we can keep keep activated with this session. Thank you for sharing, and I will be sending some prompts and some ideas that might help us stay chatting through the Zoom chat. So please feel free to share any thoughts, any ideas, any questions through the chat, and I also will be sending some questions as well. The idea that the objective that I planned for this session is to introduce you, or maybe some of you are also already introduced, and we can also share together these methodologies that come from the social science, from the development sector, that might be applied, and how they apply to the astronomy outreach projects, but especially using a user-centered perspective. So I hope that after this session, besides knowing these methodologies, you might be also interested, curious about them, and how to apply them to your astronomy outreach projects in order to do what would be the main idea that I will try to share, is that if you combine the astronomy outreach tools and the communication of astronomy tools that you already have and that you most probably already been applying, And if you combine them with the social sciences and the development tools, you could increase the impact of your astronomy outreach projects. And also, why not, in this sense of impact, not only about transformation, about like really achieving the goals of your projects, but also in a sustainable way, in a financially sustainable way, and trying to attract new funds and new allies, because you have, of course, evidence of how impactful your astronomy projects are already being doing. So I want to start with a story, with a case that is true. It's based on a true story, and unfortunately, it's not an only case. It happens a lot, and I hope that you feel safe to also share stories that might relate to this that I will be sharing. And I want to ask someone if you can share, for example, Jenny, what do you see in this image? What can you say these kids are doing in the image? What does it look like? If Jenny is here, you can, okay, thank you. Anna says they are playing happy. Thank you, Anna. If someone sees something else, maybe if you know about the name of these play or these apparatus, maybe you can say it. I have realized that it has different names, even in Mexico. When I presented, different people say different names. So I think it's this object has many names across the world, but actually, as Ana says, they are playing. In Mexico, we call this volantín. Most of the people that I've asked, they've call it like this. And the idea is that this goes around, and for kids, this is obviously fun to do. For adults, it's not so much fun, or I have found that throughout the years, I don't find going around so much fun. But when I was a girl, I remember this was a lot of fun, and especially if you go faster, right? So this is not only a playground. It's also, as the name says, it's a pump. It's a pump that is installed in a community that has no access to water, which is, as you might already know, it's a very big issue in many places in the world. This photo was taken in Mozambique, and this play pump, how it works is that the children are playing in this rotating machine that, with this energy and with a pipe that goes like 7 meters down into the earth, where it is supposed to be found water, this water goes up, and then with the energy that is generated by the kids playing, it goes to this repository, or this place up in the ground, where by also energy, it flows down and is disposable for the community. Here you have a woman with a base, and maybe feeling like putting water in the crops, like, which is amazing, right? Like, by playing, you can transform kids playing, which is very positive, very good for their development, into water that before the play pump was installed wasn't available, right? And this can be also very important, not only for safety, for health, food safety, I mean, but also for production, like it sounds like an amazing idea, doesn't it? I think it is very innovative. David says that maybe this is the name of the play. It's merry-go-round. Okay, thank you. I haven't heard that, but Thank you for sharing the name in Barbados. I think, where are you from? So this sounds like an amazing and a very innovative idea. And many organizations thought it was so very relevant international organizations decided to invest $16 million US to install 4,000 play pumps. Some of the organizations that were involved, you can see them in the photo. And I think and in the surface, it sounded really nice. These 16 million US dollars were invested into an expansion project in sub-Saharan Africa, and an intermediate evaluation showed something wasn't going that well. So in the surface, this was a really good idea, but actually the evidence didn't sustain that this was in fact a good idea. What happened? The project was canceled, was in the middle of its implementation, was canceled. And because they found many things, but I will only take three of the main things that the intermediate evaluation showed. People, well, actually, that the kids needed to play for more than 8 minutes to fill 20 liters of water, which is in Mexico, we call it garrafón, which is like a vase that is a regular size for a home for several days to be to dispose from this water. So imagine going around 8 minutes like crazy, like really fast. It stopped being fun, right? It was very tiring. It was not so fun when you had to do this exercise. So in some case, the kids, because they were tired, they got paid. So nothing. So it was so much far away from the original idea. It was supposed to be for the kids to play, but it became a child labor. So imagine being UNICEF and having invested in this and now having child labor. So this was not the intention, right? Also, because it was thought to be only for kids to play, other populations weren't considered in the design of these play pump. Seniors, people with disabilities, pregnant women, or people with different physical capabilities couldn't use the play pump. So they were impossibilitated to use this source of water, right? And also a very important thing is that not all the communities where these play pumps were installed had these conditions for the 7 meters threshold to the ground. So some at the end, what they found is that a large number of play pumps were abandoned in the communities. Actually, the researchers went to these places and they asked the people, like, what is that? What is that object? And the people said, well, some people came, they installed it, and they went away. We don't know what it is. So the researchers were really concerned about the implementation and the design and implementation of this project. And I would say it's a good news that it was canceled and that it was detained, because this evidence didn't sustain the effectiveness of this project, right? And I want to ask you now, what can we learn from this experience? Has this experience been, is something that relates to your own experience of doing projects with the communities, with something that you've heard of? Use the chat to share your insights. Is this something that you've seen, or what can you take away from this experience? When you have so much good intentions, so much innovation and resources invested, what happened? How do you explain this? So Moja says traditional type of marriage. Okay, yeah, that is the name of the play. Thank you. what can you take away from this case? What do you think about this? Well, someone is saying, Teodora, thank you. A lot of steps from idea to successful implementation. Indeed. So an idea, in order to be translated into success, into effective impact, it's not only a matter of wishful thinking or wishing the best or good intentions. Good intentions are not enough. We need tools, we need a lot of follow up as well, like trying to verify if these ideas that we are trying to implement are really delivering the results we are planning. Thank you. Short scale prototypes, that's great. And of course, maybe the one strategic error of these that this experience shows is that you need to go gradually expanding the project and also learning from these prototypes or pilot projects. Involve the audience. That's great. Yeah, definitely. What the evaluation said is that in most cases, the communities weren't consulted, weren't even involved, or the communication of the project was lacking. And yeah, that engagement really failed. The approach need to be piloted. Of course, David as well reminds me of the time of Mexican government sent computers to rural area without electricity. Yeah, of course. We know about those experiences, and as I said in the beginning, it is not so it's so rare, these cases, unfortunately. That is why it's so important to talk about these, if I may say, like fails, development fails or project fails, so that we can learn from them and prevent them in the future, of course. The background research and work in the community. Thank you, Kelly. Of course, we need to really engage with the people from the beginning and with the communities to really, if I may say, plan and co-design our projects with our users, centering where their needs, their interests, and their motivations, so that these situations and many others that might have already been in your own experiences happened. I would also add that it is important to know really the root problem. What I will argue in the following in the tools that I will share is that sometimes innovations can fail to see like the most to uncover the problems and that are below the surface. They might look shiny, they might look creative, but they are not addressing like really what is happening, right? And you can only see these causes of the problem if you, as you already said, engage with the people, engage and see in the situations as they are experiencing them, right? And of course, understand the needs of the diversity of people. Like sometimes, and I don't think that this idea was shared already, but sometimes we design for the majority or for a prototype of person, a concept of a person that is not the generality, or it doesn't address these what they say the minorities. So we need to also take in account the needs of these minorities in order to also prevent from reinforcing inequalities, and also to adapt and I think the piloting and prototypes and this gradual expansion idea, it goes to that, right? To this idea that every context is different, and so that we need to adapt to each context and gradually understand how to do that, faster and better, of course. So thank you for sharing your insights. I always also learn new ways to see this experience and to learn from it. And I hope you also do that. And they say, Albert Einstein say, that if I had an hour to solve the problem, Albert Einstein said he would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and only 5 minutes thinking about the solution. So I think this idea that they say, or the general knowledge set that it was mentioned by Einstein, I think I relate to that, because sometimes we are so eager to propose solutions, but we are not really aware or haven't thought enough about the problem. And there is no solution if there is not a problem. So a solution, by definition, is the response to a problem. So I would leave you with this reflection: how much energy, how much research, how much hearing we do to understand the problems that our projects, our outreach projects, are trying to address. And because that thinking about the problem is important, I would like to share some tools for problem analysis, and also some tools that, coming from the problem analysis, can also help you design solutions that are really that fit that problem analysis, and that give you this strategic thinking around this project cycle. And I don't know if you've seen some form of this model of the project cycle, but if not, it's a very, I think, very intuitive, that projects need to start with a problem definition. And actually, if you know the scientific method, it's very similar to the whole idea of framing the issue, framing the problem, and then proposing an experiment or a solution in this case, and then go and implement that. And of course, monitor and evaluate during and after the implementation ended. And of course, and this is an adaptation of by myself, engage stakeholders all along the process, because of what we already agreed, that it is very important to co-design and to understand together with the users what the problem is, and from there start engaging, right, in the solution. So I would specifically this project cycle, I think it's a very generic idea of project design that applies to any field. But if we go into the social sciences, some two tools specifically are used for this problem analysis and solution design. And I will refer to one of the tools, or one of the methods of the logical framing approach. I will introduce briefly each one of them, and as well as the theory of change as a way to frame and to do a strategic planning of a solution. And I want to say that this is a very introductory approach, but I hope you can also, and I leave some references for you to go deeper if you want to. So, and of course, if you've heard, or you've used these tools in the past or in the present, feel free, please, to share that in the chat. I will see the chat. Okay, thank you, Kelly. Of course, yes. We prepared this document where I go deeper in how we build the theory of change of an astronomy outreach and an astronomy for development project with Tribu, which I will talk a little bit about it. So thank you for reminding that. Hopefully someone else will read that. So I will start with the logic framework approach. this approach, this methodology, as the name says, is an approach of thinking about this type of interventions and thinking about astronomy outreach as an intervention, as a social intervention. Then it helps you to think about it very logically, very in a cause and effect dynamic, right? Where we are able to plan and to define how what we are going to do is going to generate a result, right? But first, thinking about what is the problem we are coming from. So this is a planning and also an evaluation methodology that it began like, if I'm not mistaken, it began being a thing like 30 years ago in the International Development Organization space. When I say that, I mean the United Nations and the World Bank and all these, the UE, the European Union, EU, that said, like, we cannot invest this amount of money and not having an idea of what we are expecting. So they adapted this methodology that, in my opinion, it comes from scientific thinking, and in order to capture what are the elements that are involved in the design of the interventions. And in a very simplified way of thinking about this approach, it comes from, or the steps in order to build it, it comes from defining what is the target population, or who are the beneficiaries that you intend to address with a specific intervention. It could be in a very local, in a very community-based space, or even in an international space, like thinking about countries as target populations, right? But in the cases that I will show, or in examples that I will show, I will try to think about target populations as a very community-based analysis or scope. And after you define the target population, then you do a broader analysis of the context, specifically analyzing the stakeholders, or what are the actors that, or the different, power relations, even like different leadership components or actors that are in this community space. And the importance of doing this stakeholder analysis is because sometimes you can plan an intervention, a project, and think that the target population will participate, but sometimes leaderships in the community level can block or can be cannot be so happy with the intervention. So the stakeholder analysis comes to place in order to also be very conscious about the power dynamics within a community, and the logic framework approach is very emphatic on doing this analysis. And then you go and define or analyze the problem itself. Obviously you have some assumptions of the program, of the problem, but you can also or you must analyze it in a more systematic and complete way. And I will show one of the tools specifically for the problem analysis. And then once you have defined the problem and analyzed it, then you go about and do the project design with what they call the logic framework matrix, which is a table to decide, to plan, that shows the whole plan of the project. One specific tool of the logic framework approach that is actually used in other fields as well is the problem tree. It is very similar, and you might have seen it as the iceberg analysis as well. Is a very graphic way to represent complex problems, or problems that in the surface might look as something, but if you go deeper in the roots, then you can also see other aspects of the problem. So if you've used this tool for your astronomy outreach projects, please share it in the chat. I would be very pleased to know if this tool is does it ring the bell to you? Is it familiar to someone? But the basic idea of this tool, while you share in the chat, hopefully, is that problems, they complex problems, for example, related to outreach, astronomy outreach, and astronomy development, of course, as well, are complex. They are multifactorial. They are caused by many things, right? So if we want to tackle the problem, or like really go deeper and contrary to the case of play pump, really bring a more holistic and effective solution, and as Leonora said, like really take an idea to be successful, then we need to understand all the causes, or most of the causes, or as much as we can of the causes of the problem. Because as also in biology or in nature, we see if we want to tackle a plant that is doing harm, we need to take him from the root, right? Like if we only cut the surface, then that plant will grow more, right? So if we want to tackle and to really eliminate a bad plant or a plague, if we might say, then we need to cut from the roots, right? So the main idea of the problem tree is that. And obviously, as in the roots, the causes are also in the ground, below the surface, and usually you can find them asking why something happens. So if we say, and I will give an example, why is there hunger in the world? Then we can find some of the causes of hunger in the world, right? And the main problem would be hunger in the world, right? And the consequences of hunger in the world, well, they are more obvious, right? Like people suffer, the human rights are affected, but not only that, then we could also say that hunger also affects all of us, even if we are not in that condition, because these inequalities have effects in a broader scale, right? So yeah, we could do an analysis of any global problem or local problem in this way. Ana Torres is saying public policies design this method. Exactly. Yeah, of course we do it is mandated in the law that we use this approach, the logic framework approach, to design public policies and programs in our country. Of course, thank you for sharing that, Anna. And most probably other countries do so. So thank you for saying. So how can we see? This was a more generic approach of the problem tree, but a more specific approach to the problem tree would be, for example, this one. This is how a problem tree could look like if we ask the question, why is there a low education level in X community, right? So we could find different causes, some of them related to teachers training or teacher selection, to the users themselves, to the youth, to the kids, to the families. We could think about different stakeholders that are contributing to the problem, right? So this is a more systemic analysis of the causes. And of course, in order to find the consequences, it is easier, in my experience. We could ask what happens if there is low education level. So this is an analysis proposed by FAO, and the sources in the reference list if you want to go deeper into this. But I want to go quickly to share how have we applied this problem tree to an astronomy outreach and development project in the case of Tribu, which is the organization that I'm board member of, and that as ProSociedad we have contributed to the design and the project cycle in the different elements. So first, I want to present that the team is a very multidisciplinary teams of engineers and science people, and also art and people from theater, from the circus, that have different artistic disciplines. And we develop different experiences that most of you are familiar with, probably. Night sky observation with telescopes, with different tools, and also these experiences are very dynamic. We also have a play, etc., etc. So it's like a festival, we call it. And what we have done throughout the years is that we have been since 2017, more systematically in 2020, we did an organizational strategic planning, and we developed the first version of the problem tree. And how we did it is that we consulted, well, first the team that was this multidisciplinary team that I already talked about. We got together and started thinking about the problem, thinking about what was the main issue that we were trying to address. But we not only did that, we also talked to different teachers and leaders and different people who are engaging with kids and with youth in terms of science education and science culture in Jalisco, which is a state in Mexico. And we developed this first version of the problem tree, and we came up with something like this, which is a simplified version. And this is sustained by a very long document that it has references and testimonies and also public data that explains that the main problem that we are trying to address is the low scientific culture in girls, boys, and adolescents in from 6 to 17 years in Mexico. So we decided to focalize our attention these ages because we saw that there is limited access and inadequate teaching and learning for this specific population. And if I may say also, especially in rural communities and underserved spaces within cities, because we know that this problem is, it's more harmful for these territories. So we also informed this problem tree with some experiences from the target population. So throughout the years, through our implementation, we have been pivoting, we have been experimenting and complementing our analysis. And we came up just last year with an updated problem tree that is project specific, that is more grounded into our day-to-day work in the festivals. So I think that is interesting also to think about this problem analysis, not as something that you do one day and you forget about it, but something that you are testing, that throughout your activities and your different projects, you are complementing, you are hearing, you are listening. For example, we implemented our first user surveys one year after we started our astronomy festival. So that complemented our analysis of what users, and especially kids, were feeling and thinking about these experiences and how could we improve them. And what did it say about the problem that we were trying to address. So yeah, that is the experience and this idea of learning with the users, in this case, learning about the problem. But getting back to the project cycle, I want to say that once you have this problem tree in particular and this analysis of the users, it would be helpful to also use another tool that is called the theory of change, and that I will cover very quickly because of time and because there is an article that is going to explain more in depth. But in general, the theory of change can be thought about as developing a highway or developing a path of how your project is going to be impactful, how you're gonna deliver not only short-term, but also medium and long-term results, and how this is going to happen. And obviously this should be evidence-based, and not only, as we said in the play pump case, not only based on wishful thinking, that I wish that our project saves the world. No, you need to have evidence. These both the logic framework and the problem tree and the theory of change are hypotheses we build around the problem, and we build about the solution. So we need to test them. We need to first have some evidence to say these hypotheses are valid, right? So the theory of change is the same, but I use it specifically to design projects because it is, well, I love diagrams. So I think it is very schematic, and it helps you like really capture how your project is going to look in the future, and what is the vision of the project. And how is this theory of change applied? As I said, it can be applied to project design with strategic planning as well. As I will show, Tribu also used it not only to plan a project, but also to plan the whole organization, to plan the vision towards what we as an organization we were going to go, right? It is also very useful for communicating within the team, like all getting the clear idea what we want to achieve, but also for external communication, and why not for fundraising, to get funders and allies interested in the project, because we can communicate not only what we do, but why we do it, as Simon Sinek also would say. And of course, not less important, is a basic tool for monitoring and evaluation, because if you establish a hypothesis of how your project is going to deliver a short, medium, and long-term result, then you can develop indicators, and you can develop different tools to measure those indicators or these changes. So then you can actually collect the data, and you can really like eventually analyze it and see what really happened, right? So with the basic formula for the theory of change is this as very similar to this highway that I was explaining before, but it's usually represented in a linear way, even though the solutions and the projects are not linear. Sometimes it is helpful to see them as lines, and as something that is as a causal cause and effect relation. So the main idea of the theory of change is that you have some resources. Well, first you define the problem, as we said before, and then from that you will invest resources, not only financial, human, technological, also cognitive, or knowledge resources, into some activities that eventually, or the hypothesis is these activities will generate short-term outputs that can be understood as products and services delivered to a specific community. And these outputs, these products and services, will eventually result or develop outcomes which are medium and some long-term results, and eventually the impact, which is like the deeper transformation or the solving of the project, of the problem, sorry. And throughout this logic chain, we call it the causal chain, you have a set of assumptions and risks. So this is also very important for project planning, because you need to be aware what can go wrong and what are you assuming that needs to happen for your project to be successful, so that you can respond to those assumptions, or like if the risks really materialize, then you can prevent or respond to them appropriately. How does this theory of change that might be very abstract like this looks like in reality. So in the case of Tribu, and this is a very simplified version, sorry, but invitation to read more in the journal. So as I said, we came from this problem of low scientific culture among children and adolescents, and we defined that the purpose or the impact the organization wants to bring about is to increase this scientific literacy among these children and adolescents. And how we're gonna do that is, as I already said, through the festivals that are these start parties, but also as an organization, we decided that training for parents and educators was vital, because they are key stakeholders of this issue, and also promoting astronomy outreach and communication contents more broadly to these audiences specifically. And we mapped different outcomes that we are, some of them, today we are not monitoring and evaluating all of them because of limited resources, but we are monitoring, for example, the interest in science, in technology education throughout the star parties and the experiences in the festivals. We are asking children first if they this is the first experience they had in different science and technology education. Most of them say, yes, it's the first time I come to these type of events. So for us, it's very important to be these first experiences. And of course, it is very much important to continue bringing these opportunities. But hopefully this will also develop curiosity for scientific topics. I say hopefully because we haven't evaluated that, but for us, this is like a map for research in the future. And we hope also, and we've seen some testimonies of how in the medium and maybe long term, we also are building community around these scientific and science and technology opportunities and resources. So in the same way that we developed the problem tree, we also developed the first theory of change at the beginning while we were doing the strategic planning. But we have been evolving this theory of change, and we have an updated version of this theory of change, and that actually is in the journal. It's very complex, but it is explained. But at the end, what the main idea is that we are learning of how, with the information we collect, what is relevant to evaluate and what is relevant to also to plan from this. And I want to say that fortunately, because we are resourced by public programs as well, theory of change is also part of what the governments and foundations ask you to develop in order to fund your project. So because we have this process already documented and really analyzed, of course, we are always learning and updating our problem analysis and our solution design. But we are fortunate to have collected and fundraised more than $60,000 for astronomy outreach in 3 years, which for a grassroots organization is quite a lot, honestly. And we continue doing this work. That the most important thing is that we tried this project to really be useful for users. And fortunately, the trust of other actors in the project has been sustained and is broadening. And so I am happy to share this journey. And of course, it's not the end, it's the beginning, most probably. And I hope you have taken this main idea. If you combine these astronomy outreach efforts that you're already planning and doing with social sciences and many other obviously many other tools from other fields, but I would argue social science are basic, and they can complement a lot about your understanding of the problem and how your projects can be can promote not only short but long-term results like impacts. Then I would say you would promote impactful astronomy outreach projects and more sustainable in the future. I hope you can, we are almost on time, so if you can share some insights, some takeaways, some ideas. I'm sorry I couldn't leave more time for questions, but as Cynthia said, this is the first of many others, hopefully. So I also leave the references that I used and my personal work email. If you want to reach out, please do. And thank you for hearing and for sharing in the chat. And that's that for me. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Magda. I think it's so interesting. I mean, we do have time for a couple of questions. I think one of the reasons that we want is to we can actually have a little bit of discussion about this, because I think it's not as common to have this kind of resource to analyze a project before implementing it. And I think it's one of the things that we should be promoting more in science communication, the truly understanding of the problems and what our communities truly need in order to have a bigger impact on this. So one of the reasons that we wanted you to participate in our STEAM Machines program is exactly that, because we've seen everything that you have been doing with your team and your projects, and that's one of the reasons that we wanted to share this kind of framework, because it's so well documented. The examples and the way everything has been completed within the analysis and how you've been implementing in the specific projects. It's one of the things that is very, very important, and we usually, as science communicators or astronomy communicators, we're not really used to do any of this. Many of science communicators we're not really trained in science communication, and we're not really trained in the development of this sort of projects. So one of our goals within the IAU and the Office for Astronomy Outreach is implement things and give this tool so that our science communicators and the people that participate in a network can have all these tools, but also can implement them in order to have a more professional approach to their projects and understanding the real obstacles that you can come up with, but also the real tools that you can apply in order to pass these obstacles, which of course are widely different all around the world. One thing that happens is, because we're an international network, the problems that we face and the ways that we approach our communities are very, very different. So in this case, this is a question I would like to ask to you. So we started the conversation talking about our annual founding scheme, which is basically a grant that we share with our NOCs so that they can develop a project for their communities. But one specific thing that is required to participate in this open call is that they have to collaborate with another NOC from another country. And this is very important for us, because what we want to do is that you design and develop projects not only for your specific country, but the importance of understanding that this is a network of networks. And if we don't start designing and working around this, we're not really going to be able to have the impact that we could having this kind of network. So what do you think could be something that you can share with us in order to do this? Because we understand that this is a specific thing that we ask from our NOCs, but also we also understand that this is one of the hardest things to do. Like, how do you connect with, how do you design like an entire project with a different community from another country that doesn't necessarily have the same ideas or the resources or even the problematics are not the same. So in that kind of thing, how would you think something like this could be applicable?
Yeah, well, I would say my experience collaborating in international networks like this, I'm part of a gender transformative network, education network, that also I try to do projects with people from Ethiopia, from Tanzania, from Nepal, and Mexico. And so what we have, what I have learned in this almost 2 years of doing that, is that we need to recognize we are different, we have different contexts, and that maybe we see similar problems in our countries. We have a very different, if we follow the logic framework, we have different stakeholders, different the targets populations are very different. But what we have found very valuable from sharing is the perspective. So sometimes we have biases for everything, right? So what I found is that talking to them about the problems they see and the causes, if we use a problem tree, if I see the causes, the causes of the problems that they see, that brings me perspective into, I haven't thought about this cause, right? Or the other way around, like if we co-develop, we can complement our views of the problems that we are trying to address, right? Because there are commonalities at the end, even though we have different context, different culture, different political, blah blah blah, economic context. We are humans, right? Like, so we see behavioral, even behavioral aspects related to the problem. And in terms of solutions, it has been even more interesting, because when we share knowledge and connections as well, we complement our solutions. For example, I am talking with an organization that is working with women and girls in economic empowerment, and they have a model that is really building, is really achieving. They are based in Tanzania, in different countries in Africa, and they are really building networks, support networks among adolescents. So I am trying to get them to talk to an organization with whom I work for, in order to benchmark, if I may say, like compare our solutions and see how their solutions can inform and can the principles of their solutions can be translated to the context and the problem that we are seeing here now. So, for example, how they promote peer-to-peer learning, peer-to-peer connections, and these kind of things. So I think there is a lot to if we talk about this in a global scale, then we can complement the problem and the solution by just sharing. I think it is very useful.
Thank you. Yeah. I was just putting in the chat, if anyone has another question, you can write it in the chat, or you can just raise your hand and we can you can unmute yourself, and we'd love to hear if anyone has like any comment or any question that you would like to ask Magda. This is a great opportunity to be with someone that has a lot of experience on this.
Thank you. Yeah, and if not, and if the questions or comments come after, please, I either by the email that I already shared, Cynthia, I will send the presentation. And if you feel free to share it with someone that afterwards that you might think it would be useful. I'm pretty open to.
Yeah, if you also came late, we share the PDF link for Magda's paper, that it's going to be also public within the CAP journal. But it's really interesting. In there you can see like a full dive in the whole research around everything that she was sharing with us today. So it's an incredible read that you can try to apply within your own projects. This was just a general idea of the theory of change framework. But of course, there's a whole lot of information that should be really take our times and read and try to understand, and obviously apply to each one of our communities, which is exactly what the research says. Like, we need to understand the different, specific, the diverse necessities of our audiences. So does anyone want to say something, share, or maybe share a few of the ideas that you have been thinking about your projects?
Maybe they are sleeping already.
No, I think just the ones who we are like in Asia, we might be, but almost everyone else is like either at noon or like beginning the day, so you should all be awake.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. What do you think, Ali? Should we do you have any other questions? Do you have any comment?
No, I think this is really lovely. I love hearing the just like a different way of you explaining the work that we've been working through, working for the CAP Journal article. It's nice to see it discussed in a slightly different setting. So no, I think maybe we can let you get on with your day. And thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate you sharing your expertise with us. And we'll be sure to send people your way should they have any questions later on. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us also. Again, if you have any questions about anything that was discussed, anything that Magda talked about, just send us an email and we can connect you. I think she also put her email address in the chat, so you can see that as well. And then for those of you who are interested in attending the NOCs funding scheme, we'll call it a workshop on Friday. Please check your email for the joining information and some additional information that you'll need in order to participate fully. So there's a series of 4 workshops that I think they're all about 30 minutes long. At least the presentations are about 30 minutes long. And then we'll have some discussion around that. And we'll give you a little bit more information about what we'd like you to come to the workshop with. And I'll send that out on Wednesday. So again, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Magda, for being here. And we will see you again soon, hopefully.